Gentlemen, it's time once again to discuss things.
Greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlemen. This is MilanJeftic with my good friend Sydpart2, and we are here to talk about, well, what are we here to talk about, Ian?
Batman and philosophy. Uh,
Indeed.
Zazubar couldn't join us today
Yes.
because he has to go attack not New York. He's got to go attack somewhere else since Zazubar is Godzilla.
No,
Um,
no. He has to, not New York, he has to go attack, I think it's New England?
is somewhere he's off, so
Um,
we'll have to soldier on without him.
yes, yes. He shall be sorely missed.
Hey Milan, can you move the microphone a little bit away from your mouth?
Alright then. Is this good?
Yeah, that sounds better.
Alright then. So, let's, you want to start or, on the speaking points?
Well, I think the idea of this video we should just talk about Batman and some
Hmm.
of the other like major characters that come up when you think about them and what their personal philosophy in life is and what philosophers have influenced this character throughout the years. So we'll talk about, what we believe they believe and what that kind of funnels into,
Yeah.
whose ideas that goes into.
Um, See, with the Batman characters, there's a fine line between personal philosophy and, well, symptom.
Very true. It's a very good point. Um,
So, so you could say that well, everybody knows that the Penguin has a Napoleon complex. Um, is it called up in Napoleon?
well,
Uh,
that's more psychology than a philosophy thing.
yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. So that means he has a tendency of being the one on top and ruling everything. But so it's a little bit difficult, I think, to attribute any type of philosophy. Well, obviously, without the basic things like the Joker and his love of anarchy. But so there's a fine line between symptom and personal philosophy, like I said before.
Hmm. I don't know. I find that there's a distinction there that can be drawn fairly easily. I mean, part of it, your whatever symptoms or psychosis you do have will figure into your personal outlook on the world.
Mm,
Um, so
please
I don't
elaborate.
think that we're really going to be able to attribute all philosophical ideals to someone's, personal psychology.
Mm. So, with what character shall we start?
Well, obviously, Batman.
Yes.
Um,
Oh, I'm just watching the link you gave me and of that little Sonic bear that you did, and it's so cute. Oh,
like,
by the way, Sonic made a plushie toy of Sonic, and it's shut up, Mickey. Sorry, my little brother's a bastard. But anyway, shut up, Mickey. It's so cute.
yes, too cute for me to own, so I don't know. I'm gonna have to do something with that. It's fun to make. But anyway, Batman, obviously described and probably best in Morrison's work, is to me a very Nietzschean philosopher. He's very, very influenced by the idea of the Superman, the idea of perfection, of striving, of being stronger than everybody else.
Hmm. He's an almost Citizen Kane type figure, an almost a perfect ideal capitalist American, the self-made man, quite literally.
Mm, I don't know if capitalist works there because he didn't really make
Well,
his own fortune.
I know, but uh, whenever there's been a quite interesting comparison in the Batman Returns run, the Batman Returns, the Frank Miller trade, that just the way he draws and portrays Batman and that just the aged Batman, it's like.
You mean Dark Knight Returns?
Dark Knight Returns, of course. Sorry. He there's been a comparison made between that Batman and, well, Citizen Kane, the great the great American.
True. Um, hmm. I guess. I don't know. It's just that was more about Batman's philosophy on crime more than Batman's personal
Yeah.
the standards that those that book was more about the standards Batman holds others to as opposed to the standards he holds himself to.
Well, I guess those two in Batman's world at least are sort of intertwined. It,
No, because he will let himself do things he would never let anyone else
hmm.
because he's very, very controlling. And at the same time, there are things that he accepts other people doing he will not let himself do. Like Batman has, as far as I understand it, no problem with the death penalty. He just doesn't want to be the person carrying it out. Um, is a pretty good example of that. And anytime someone tries to work with Batman, he constantly will stop them from doing something, but then he'll go and do it himself. A really good example of that is in one of the crossovers they did between Avengers and Justice League. Um, the Justice League is running around in the Marvel Universe, and
Hmm.
Batman tells everyone, "Do not touch anything. Do not interfere in any way. I don't care if it messes with your personal views or anything. You're not going to mess this up for us." And they're running around, and then he sees Punisher shooting up a bunch of mobsters, and he goes and kicks Punisher's ass, and like off page, and then Plastic Man starts yelling at him. So there are things that like Batman will let himself do that he will not let others do, and vice versa.
Oh, that is that's great. But there's another thing. I believe this is more on the psychosis of Batman, but some people have said that Batman sees patterns where there are no patterns to be found, or at
That's a
least
good point. That
um
over paranoid kind of like the
yeah,
question thing.
I believe it's called epiphenia. Yeah, it's called epiphenia.
Hmm.
So it's just I guess that kind of he has a controlled paranoia. His paranoia is refined like a samurai sword.
Hmm. Fair enough. The the thing about paranoia, and this is a
Mm,
good joke, but the thing about paranoia is you're not paranoid if you're right, and
indeed.
it's scary how often Batman is right.
Yeah.
Like with the whole with Grant Morrison's story and the black glove and everything, he got so ridiculous. Like someone really just they summed up what he did in the black glove in the entire story arc, especially Rip. They go, Batman gave himself a split personality in case he was ever attacked mentally.
Mm,
That's something a psychotic person does, but it worked. And he was
yes.
right to do it. Like they made that point. It's like he did something like to get a split personality, you have to essentially shatter part of your psyche in order to do it. So he literally induced psychosis within himself. So literally he did something crazy to do something logical. The thing is Batman's almost never wrong.
Yeah.
And here's to bring it back to Nietzsche because I really do feel Nietzsche is the man for Batman. Uh,
Mm,
Here's a quote from him that I really like. I assess the power of a will by how much resistance, pain, torture it endures, and knows how to turn to its advantage. And let me take that just real quick and continue it into one other thing. A quote from uh, Batman Rip, and it's probably this is honestly probably the best Batman quote I've ever read. Like I've considered going and getting a couple issues of Batman 681 so that I can like basically take these pages out and frame this quote kinda.
mm,
And this is Batman after he's woken up inside a coffin, right?
Hmm.
After, like, all the crazy stuff that's been going on in Rip, and he's wearing a straitjacket.
Uh-huh.
And it's, like, 4 panels of black, then, like, little squinting eyes, and then wide open eyes, and it says, but that's the thing about Batman. He thinks of everything. Obvious variations aside, there is only one human body. 206 bones, 5 major organs, 60,000 miles of blood vessels. All it takes is time. Days, months, years, spent memorizing the finite ways there are to hurt and break a man, preparing for all of them. I've escaped from every conceivable death trap 10 times, a dozen times. I can slow my breathing and metabolism to control panic and conserve air. Straitjackets, kindergarten. Locks 2. Bench pressing a pine coffin lid through 600 pounds of loose soil that's filling your mouth, crushing your lungs flat and shredding your dehydrated muscles. That's harder, but far from impossible.
That is by far one of my favorite Grant Morrison Batman writing moments ever.
Oh, it was brilliant. Like I said, I'm really considering just getting those pages framed.
You
Like,
know,
it's
you'd be
that good.
surprised. I know you'd be surprised how much of Grant Morrison's work, just deserves that whole, oh, I'm gonna take this particular panel and frame it, or this particular page, this or that. It's just amazing.
Mm. No, but I feel there's a connection between those two. I mean, Batman's all about that unbreakable
Mm.
will, just unbelievable determination. I mean,
Unbreakable, uncorruptible, and completely and utterly insane. But in
yeah.
this,
I mean, really, the thing is that, once again, going to Morrison, we look at Arkham Asylum, Serious House, Serious Earth. Sanity is a term based on normality.
mm.
And,
And
like,
it,
that's the thing. If you're the only sane one in an insane world, that makes you insane.
yes,
Like,
but
if
if you
everyone
think about
says
it,
the sky is neon orange, and you look up and you say the sky's blue, and you show people little patches of blue that's the same color as the sky, and go, what color is this? And they say, that's blue. And you're like, so what color is the sky? And they say, orange. You're the crazy one if everybody gives that same reply,
y
sadly.
yes, but the thing is, craziness in Gotham is not exactly, well, out of the ordinary. If you're not insane and you live in Gotham, then you're the odd one out.
Well, everybody breaks in Gotham.
Yes, Gotham has a weird tendency of crushing.
Insanity is like a plague in Gotham.
That, or like like if you've gone insane in Gotham, it's like you're a true Gotham boy now. You move from Metropolis to Gotham. You go insane. Your people patting you on the back. Congratulations, welcome to Gotham. You're officially a Gothamite if you've lost your mind at some point in this city. So that's, uh, I guess you and I would fit right in.
Quite possibly. Uh,
Yes, frighteningly so.
yeah, I don't know. I think that does it for Batman, and it seems like a pretty good point to switch over. You got a little bit if you want to add anything right to the end here, Milan.
Um, it's strange. Batman tends to be one of those personalities that attracts other seemingly normal personalities, and then just through just events alone creates them into almost semi, Nietzschean Superman as himself, like the Robins. He takes them in as kids and just spits them out as these like insane superhero acrobat awesome dudes that have sex with alien chicks. I mean, like I mean, if Robin would just, if Dick Grayson just grew up with the circus with his parents gone, or in some boys' home, then he wouldn't be Nightwing. But Batman takes him in, and I'm having sex with a hot orange alien chick, and I'm fighting with aliens,
Why are
and
you always the one that brings up sex in these? We'll
sex is a
switch.
part of life.
No, but like every time it's like, oh, this chick's hot. I want to fuck her. And then it's like, dude,
What?
stop. So I feel like, Milan, you're always the one that brings up sex. Like, you're always the one that goes, oh, this chick's sexy. Like, look at Catwoman in this. Oh, I want to just. I'm like, dude, Little on the personal side.
Dude, what are you talking about? It's not like I completely go all in detail about sexual things like, oh, look at her nipple cups. I mean, I'm
You
not
know what'd
like
be
that.
so funny right now is if I
What?
paused the video and just started playing clips from the other videos that we've done together and that you've done where all you do is talk about where like I just play clips of you vividly describing sex.
Vividly describing sex? I don't know. I don't think you won't find much. Like a clip, maybe, or like a
No,
two
I'm
second.
pretty sure I could make a good 3-4 minute video.
No, you
Just tiny
can't.
little excerpts.
Dude, I
Just
don't
like
talk
full
about.
round breasts and puffy lips and sexy and just, I wanna go.
Yes.
Blah, blah.
Yeah, but that's just like, dude, I have Russian and Serbian blood in me. We Russian Serbian men have a tendency of going into extreme detail about what we like. I want this large, juicy hot dog with onions and ketchup and mustard all over it. So it's not just about women, it's about everything.
Okay. Anyway, so yeah, I feel like Batman's a little on the nose.
So hold on a second. Mickey, don't steal my shoes! Take your own goddamn shoes! If he stole my shoes, I will literally kill him. Sorry. Continue.
Batman's a little easy to pin down, and only because he's been influenced retroactively extremely by other writers. I mean, no one's come in and started writing Batman as a Kantian or a Hume-based philosopher. He's always been very Nietzschean. At first, subconsciously, then over the years, very very intentionally. And of course, I'm talking about kind of like an ideal, not an ideal Batman, kind of like an overarching Batman. Like there's obviously going to be a page from some comic book where Batman says something that is in direct contradiction to anything Nietzsche said.
Mm.
Someone's going to find something. There's always going to be out there, but as an
Yeah.
overarching
I
narrative
actually,
of the character.
I actually have that clip. I actually
Yeah.
have that sentence where Batman goes against Nietzsche.
What do you got?
Batman, the reason I need to wear different colored costumes every night is a secret. During the 60s where he had to dress in a different.
I know exactly which panel you're talking about.
Yep.
I don't know why. No, actually, that's completely wrong
Really?
because there was totally a reason for that.
Yeah, he has to fight a giant ice cream monster.
No, it wasn't an ice cream monster. It was that color dude.
Oh yeah, that's right. Then he had to
Because
fight
they
this.
did that comic in Brave and the Bold, so he was planning for something. The man's a fucking genius. That's like it's just as justified as one of his gadgets in that kooky ass world. Um, so that's not the clip, Milan.
Touche. Okay, touche. All right, you beat me again with your knowledgeability of Batman trivia.
Yeah, I do that quite
Yeah.
often.
Oh,
Anyway,
laugh. So, you want to keep talking about Batman, or should we move on to somebody else?
like I said, I feel like we've pretty much covered Batman. I mean, this isn't going to be an in depth, you know, like go through every single little bit of his character. If anyone really wants that, let me know. I'll find a way to post some of the papers I've written for my courses online, and you
Hmm.
can read those if you'd like to read. Let's see here. Yeah, I got 3 20-page papers all about Batman and philosophy in different respects.
Damn.
Yeah, I got a small book.
Hmm. So I guess we have to move on to this. Well, I believe this is your favorite character to talk about philosophy. The one and only clown prince of crime, the Joker.
Yes. Oh my God. I gotta find the quote. Talk. You talk for a sec, Milan. I'm gonna find something while you talk about this.
Well, the Joker was just from a design standpoint. This is not exactly has to do with philosophy, but from a design standpoint, people always look at the Joker and he doesn't seem odd because he's been permeating through the popular culture for so long, 70 years now, that he doesn't seem odd. But think about how he looks. He's dressed like a riverboat gambler in a purple suit, and he has just a white face, just cut up lips that just burst open onto this horrifying grin, and he just looks odd. If you look at the Joker without any prior knowledge of Batman comics, and you just look at the Joker's design and how he
Based
was
off of the design of what's his face from The Man Who Laughs.
yes, that, and also the playing card themselves. And I believe he was also bits of his design were taken from a ice cream mascot.
I did not know that one. I'm
Yeah.
trying to remember the actor's name. Give me 1 second here. I'm pulling it
Um.
up. Caesar something, I think.
Caesar Gulf, I believe it was, or Wolf.
Uh,
Caesar Wolf. That's right.
no, that can't be right.
Um.
Come on, what is it?
But basically, this riverboat dressed gambling clown. That's in his very
Conrad Vidiot. Conrad
con
Veidt.
Conrad Weitz. That's right. But if you think about it, in Grant Morrison's book, Super Gods, he describes Joker in his very first appearance as looking like a heroin addict, sitting at a table with his cards underneath a naked bulb, but a face at the end of it all. A crazy old transvestite looking for some kicks.
Hmm.
And and just the fact that he fights a guy dressed like a bat, it's such a weirdly burlesque nightlife druggy type of a thing if you think about it. And that's another thing about Batman. Literally, from the very first issue, Batman has been inhaling like toxic gases, hallucinogens, weaponized hallucinogens, poison lipsticks of any sort. This is another quote from the Grant Morrison Super God. Batman knows how to get fucked up without seriously losing his shit.
Mm-hmm.
That is so. That is so true.
Well,
Batman.
I mean, getting high, getting tripping acid, or no matter like how potent the drug is, it's always much easier to be high when you know you're high.
Mm,
And for those of us that are actually able to control ourselves and be familiar with what we're doing,
mm.
it's not that hard to stop yourself from like going crazy and hallucinating and tripping, because you can always it's the same thing as dreaming. You can always remind yourself this is a dream,
Yes, but
this is not real, and Batman's mastered of that, probably because he's done so much of it. um he's a control freak. But here's the quote I was looking for earlier. uh just to give this a little context, I say Batman is very, very in line with Nietzsche. And the weird thing is, Joker is too, but not with what Nietzsche wants. He's in line with what Nietzsche feared. Um, and this quote pretty much summarizes Batman and Joker's relationship the most. Battle
oh,
not with monsters, lest ye become a monster. And if you gaze long into the abyss gazes also into you.
yes,
Joker is the
I
abyss.
agree.
Joker is this all-consuming force of horror and shock and just
Lunacy.
devastation. He is he's what children fear at night in a certain way.
Mm,
Not not like the not like they're afraid of the Joker, which they would be, but they're afraid of something that they don't know. He
mm,
is
mm.
he is absence. He is the lack, the hole in things. Um,
Aha! I was about to say that.
yeah, it's frightening the kinds of things he wants. He wants destruction. He doesn't want rubble. He wants dust. He wants everything to go back to one singular. He wants the entire universe to revert back to one singular tiny little point. And if he could, he would like that single point stamped out of existence as well.
Well, I don't really think that is exactly true because if that happened, then the Joker would have nothing to do. I mean, look at No
Well, no,
Man's
no, no.
Land.
Like, let me add on to that, because you're right. He wouldn't. want that, but that's only because he could not make that happen.
Mm.
That's what he desires, but he knows there's no feasible way for him to do that. Even in comic book continuity, there's
Mm.
no way to actually make that happen. Like,
Mm.
even when he had Mixelplix powers, he couldn't have done that. You
Uh,
cannot you cannot decreate existence as a
yeah.
whole,
Mm.
because you would have to exist in order to do that. But so, like, it's the mentality of, well, the car's crashing, I could be afraid, or I could just enjoy the ride.
Mm.
It's
You
that,
might as well.
yeah, I mean, he's still a sick person in the head.
Mm.
So he is going to enjoy the process, because there's nothing, it doesn't matter either way to him. So he's doing what he finds fun, and what he
Yeah.
finds fun is sickening, but I'd argue it's less terrifying than what he actually desires.
Yes. And it's kind of that's an interesting point that whenever he's about to die in any sort of Batman continuity, like either in the Batman animated series or in the comics, when he's like about to fall into a chimney or down a well or in some sort of pit of flames, you always get a moment where he just goes, eh, and just starts losing his shit laughing as he just falls from
Asterisk,
Batman.
asterisk next to that statement, when
Yes.
he's written correctly,
Yeah.
because so many times he's like constantly, like, I hate it when a writer makes Joker's whole character, the foundations of the character, an
Mm.
act. Because,
Yeah.
like, they constantly do that, where he doesn't really believe any of the things that we're talking about here, and he's really just selfish and afraid. Like,
Yeah, that kind
there's
of
that one episode, The Joker's Favor, which was pretty well done up until the very end, where the guy has a bomb and Joker runs to Batman for help. I'm like, no, Joker wouldn't do that. He'd probably grab the bomb and run toward Batman.
yeah, but it's just when what do you think of so I guess that whole making the Joker's whole shtick and act kind of it has a tendency of neutering the Joker as a villain. It's just like, oh, he's just everybody else, he's just putting on an act, but it's much more frightening to know that there's a guy who actually believes what he thinks.
Yeah, and actually, this is an unpopular opinion, but I do
Yeah.
stick by it. From a writing standpoint, okay? Both in dialogue and in character motivations, the Joker in the series The Batman was written so much better than the Joker in the animated series.
You know what? I'm gonna have to agree with you.
Like, I mean, people really hate that series, and they definitely overuse Joker in the Batman. But when you look at his character motivations and you look at some of the things he says, they're, like, significantly closer to the base of the character than a lot of what Mark Hamill did, with the exception of Return of the Joker and Batman Beyond. That's about the only one where it really got closer to it got closer to the base than I feel the other one did.
But the thing is, I don't really understand why people hate the Batman so much. I love that show. I sure it takes some elements from the Adam West show, like the kind of light, more colorful art aesthetic. But it did have some pretty fucking dark moments, especially when Bane, sure,
Clayface episode 2, yeah.
yeah, yeah. But sure they may fuck up a couple of villains visually, but but I think the Joker looked kind of awesome in his like rainbow colored freaking straight jacket.
It was
He looked,
okay.
yeah.
I agree. I didn't love his design, but it was all right. I
Mm,
thought it was an interesting. I didn't care for the art style of the Batman by and large, but it was okay. I enjoyed the glows. I thought that was a cool animation addition.
mm,
It's one of those subtle things that a lot of people don't notice until you watch old cartoons and then watch new cartoons. Uh, Glowing in animation was very, very lacking, except from except from, like, higher budget things. And you can see it start to creep its way in the late '90s up until today. when everything's going CGI and we're getting even cooler textures and stuff. But might have another video topic right there.
Yes.
We'll see. But anyway, not to get too off tangent, because this is actually one of my favorite subjects, and tangents are very dangerous and could lead to another 3-hour video. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I kind of want to keep these about an hour to an hour and 20.
Mm. As a
But
minimum.
anyway,
Yeah.
I didn't
So,
mind the animation in it. It was okay. It was all right.
I
I
liked
didn't
it.
love it, but it had that series really had its moments. I remember I was
Yeah.
talking to Cap about it when I was in Metropolis with him, and he's like, "I just couldn't get into the Batman." I go, "I feel about the Batman how you feel about Smallville." Like, that's seriously, the people that like Smallville, they always say, "But once you get past some of the stuff they do that's really bad, it actually has some really good moments." And I'm like, that's the same way that I feel about the Batman. They
Mm.
had some really terrible things go on in that show, but then, like, they butchered Harley Quinn in that show. But then there are other moments where it's just, that was amazing.
Yeah.
Like, my favorite episode is the Laughing Bat. Have you seen that one?
That's when Batman loses his shit, right? And he's just dosed on Joker laughing gas, right? Or is it the one where where Joker and him switch costumes or whatever?
It's the one where Joker. It's kind of the same episode what you're describing.
Ah.
It's the one where Joker decides to become Batman, and he's running around in this like shitty Batman costume, and like punishing criminals, but like he's punishing criminals for misdemeanors basically. Like, the best line in the whole damn series, or in that whole damn episode, is he's leaving the mayor's office and he says to the mayor, Mayor, of all the scum I've taken down, your wife was the most disappointing. My wife, 15 items in a 12-item or less checkout line. She had it coming.
I love that. I love when when the Joker just goes batshit insane and dresses up like Batman. Say
Oh, it was a brilliant episode. He did that so well. And it got like the humor got so dark in that one too, because Bruce is just like laughing at the deaths of Gothamites because he can't help himself. Oh, that one got dark. It was really
uh,
good.
Yeah, it's so weird. Like at some points, you'd see like, oh, look at the pretty colors. Then it just gets so fucking dark at some points. Where it's just like, oh my God. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like they show anything, but just like the concepts and the actual storylines get so like there's some really dark moments. Like when basically Batman gets his shit kicked in by Bane, and it's just like he's just laying there on the table with Alfred, with a scalpel like operating on him, and it just has this flashback of him at the police office, with Gordon there as a little kid, and it's just like just some really dark shit. But
Mm.
before I forget this point, I gotta plug something. Um, if you guys know, there's this audio play website called Graphic Audio that does audio plays of DC Comics runs like Final Crisis, Batman, and actually, what's taking on the point where the Joker dresses up like Batman in Batman Inferno, a really great Batman audio play. The Joker actually does dress up like Batman and steals his Batmobile, and it just it's so funny. It's
Okay, I'll
so
have to check
fun.
that one out.
It's really
Um,
good.
just to go on, we're gonna continue just a little bit on
Mm.
this animation. Then I'm gonna make this one final point, and then I want to move back to the philosophy.
Yes,
Um, Green Lantern, the animated series, is a shockingly dark show. Like,
mm,
I don't know if you've seen the pilot to that.
I have.
Seriously, in the first, 2 minutes, they kill somebody. Then
Yeah,
they kill somebody else in the middle of the show. And then they blow up a planet.
yeah,
It's like, fuck! That show got dark quick. And it was like,
yeah.
it's a Saturday morning cartoon. It's not even a Friday night cartoon. It's Saturday morning.
Yeah. Hey kids, global genocide.
And just I said one final thing, but one final thing. The one that's probably surprised me the most, Emperor Joker's episode in Batman the Brave and the Bold. There's a 2-minute montage of Batman fucking dying again and again and again.
Yeah.
What? That's definitely a kid's show, and they kill him on screen several times.
And that, I think, is by far the greatest moment in American animation, in my own humble opinion.
Wow. Your
Yeah.
work?
Yes. But the thing is, I love Batman Brave and the Bold. I love that show to an insane point because I love the 60s. It takes the weirdness of the 60s
Oh,
and
it's
just
Silver Age on screen is all
so
it is.
yes, but it polishes it up to a gleam of quackiness that I cannot not hate this show. I love this show. But there's one point where Batman meets Superman, and Superman goes insane thanks to red kryptonite, or is it
Yeah, I
black
remember that
kryptonite?
episode.
Yeah, and basically Superman just kind of like goes like, "I will rule this planet," and it just takes a fucking crown from behind his back, and I'm like, "Where did he get that crown? Where did he get it?"
Don't you know Superman just carries around a crown all the time?
Just in case he goes evil and decides to rule the world.
You gotta be prepared for these things, Milan. Don't you carry around a crown just in case you ever get to be ruler of the world?
Well, I do, but I'm just me. This is Superman.
All right, let's get back to the philosophy. A character that I feel would get overlooked unless we decide to point him out here is Alfred.
Yeah.
Where do you feel Alfred lands on a philosophical background? Because he's often giving these, very interesting and articulate speeches, but we never really quite get exactly where he's at.
Um, I I don't know. Just there's some points where I guess Alfred has a tendency for a fondness for
Hmm.
Aristotle and his ethics. Um, it seems like such a cool, calm, and collected individual.
Yeah, I tend to find that he leans much more towards Socrates than Aristotle because
Mm,
he constantly, even if Bruce is doing the right thing, he constantly has this tendency to not let him do it without questioning him on it
mm,
because he doesn't care if Bruce is doing the right thing. He wants him to do the right thing for the right reasons.
indeed.
It's always like, I'm going to go save these people. Why? Because they need my help. They need Batman. Why do they need Batman? And like he'll go through that process till Bruce realizes he's not going to save these people to help himself, or he's not going to do it to make himself feel better. He's
Mm,
going to do it because they genuinely need his help.
mm,
Alfred's kind of that line that's keeping Bruce from just replacing the police department
yeah. He's
at
the
certain
guy.
points. And at other points, he's the one keeping Bruce from, letting Robin do crazy shit or not letting Robin do crazy shit. Depending on the story.
Uh, uh, if you guys read Flashpoint and spoiler warning, the Batman in there is actually Thomas Wayne and the Joker is Martha Wayne.
That
But
was so good.
yeah,
That's what pissed me off about Brian Azzarello. How can you write something that awesome and then put out something so bad as Joker? Ah, fuck.
but dude,
Sorry.
it's fine. We here on Sid's channel we embrace the tangent. So God bless you if there was one, but there isn't. So nothing happens when you die. But anyway, um, I think that it, that Batman would have ended up like that if it wasn't for Alfred. He
Yeah,
would just
I'd have to agree. I don't think Batman could stay. I think Batman would have been, the Punisher on steroids if it wasn't for Alfred and Robin to a certain extent. Alfred does something that Robin does something that Alfred doesn't. Uh,
mm, Robin kind of keeps Batman from well just killing people and because if you have a kid around and you have to be an example for this child. You can't just go, oh, well, we're going to take this hatchet and we're going to bury it in this guy's forehead like we used to do back in the 30s.
yeah. Send me that like, I'm assuming you have a scan of that. Send me that.
I believe so, but
Well, no,
anyway,
you were telling me you were looking at it, so I assume you have a scan or something.
oh, I was looking at I was looking at it on Google Images, but anyway, please continue. What else do you want add on the Joker? But you know what? If you guys want a summation of the Joker's philosophy, please
Uh,
go either onto my channel and check out why Batman and the Joker are two sides of the same coin, or go into Sid's channel and look up what's that video called? Joker's
Fools
philosophy.
Rush In, Joker's Philosophy. Yeah, I forgot. I forgot to mention that. A while back in '09 or 2010, I wrote a script for a fan fiction. I wrote a script for a graphic novel, and I was really proud of it. I mean, it needs some reworking. Originally, it was set to take place in the Nolan continuity about 10 years after The Dark Knight, before we knew that Dark Knight Rises took place 8
Mm,
years after The Dark Knight. So, I mean, it obviously contradicts several things. So I'd need to fix that if I wanted to keep it in Nolan canon, or I actually probably couldn't keep it in Nolan canon because where Nolan ended. But anyway, um, it takes place in an alternate universe of Nolan canon, in which he did not quit being Batman after The Dark Knight, and it's all about Joker and Batman talking about different things. And the final, it was four chapters, 4 books, and the final chapter is Joker describing his philosophy to Batman. And the thing is, Batman believes and agrees with everything he says. He just doesn't agree with Joker's solution to it. And it's a very
mm.
good video. Milan did a reading of it in a more comic book style Joker voice, and it was really good. I really enjoyed it. So yeah, you guys should check that out. It's a very good video.
Yes, that kind of goes into a little bit more depth, in depth into what exactly we're talking about here
Yeah, the
with the Joker.
specifics of the
Yeah,
specifics.
yeah. A link
Uh,
to, you should link to that video beneath this one.
yeah, I'll put
But
a link, or yeah, something like that.
yeah, but who else do you want to talk about? So we covered Batman, Alfred, and the Joker. What other villains? You want to do two more villains, or just keep on going?
Um, let's do another hero and another villain.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay.
I
You
feel
know.
like I don't want to take this on for too long. So,
Hmm.
who else do you think that's really interesting? Wait, hold on. We did. Let's do another. Let's do 2 more villains because we've done 2 heroes then, or 2 people on like the good side.
So let's do one more hero and two more villains.
Oh, okay,
Uh,
sure, that's fine.
but because the thing is, uh, an interesting character that I like is well, Huntress in a way, because like I kind of get tired of her, like, oh, I kill so Batman doesn't trust me, but I don't know. What do you think about Huntress?
I haven't read a ton of Huntress, and that's mostly because the Huntress I have read, I've never cared for. I mean, she's perpetually, and I don't know if this is a writing thing or just her character in general, because she was okay in Justice League, but still, even that got boring quickly. You know, she was only in like 3 or 4 episodes heavily, but those 3 or 4 episodes were about all I needed. Um, she just seems like that, like, the 16-year-old, like the stereotypical 16-year-old girl that's always mad at her parents because they won't let her do anything she wants, blah blah blah, bland
Yeah.
bland bland. I feel like that whenever she's on the page. Batman won't let me kill people. Well, you should be glad he hasn't broken your fucking legs and sent you away to Arkham. I mean, seriously, she's mad at him because he's letting her go out on the streets, but he's not letting her kill people. I mean, if he is fucking Batman, he's fucking Batman. If he really wants to, your ass is on the street in front of the police station without a mask in like 2 minutes. I'm just saying, he can take her ass down, and she's sitting there throwing a fucking bitch fit constantly because
Yeah.
he won't let her kill people. I mean, he
Uh,
approves of you enough. Batman respects you enough to let you work in his city. You say, thank you, Batman. Thank you. And you get your ass out there and you don't dare kill a damn person.
Hell yeah, motherfucker. Oh, put that woman in her place. Oh God, we just lost all our feminist viewers, didn't we?
Well, it has nothing to do with feminism. It's about, like, I love Wonder Woman.
I know it does has nothing to do with feminism, but they will make it to be about feminism. So yes, we've just lost all our female viewers. I
You
love
lost all
Bertinelli.
your female viewers. I'm gonna make a video about Wonder Woman again. That actually got surprisingly high number of views. Did you ever see that?
Would you describe it to me? It was the
My
one where
review
you.
of the Wonder Woman pilot that David E. Kelly did.
Uh-huh. I
That
yeah.
got so many views out of nowhere.
Well,
Like that's got like I think 9,000 views.
mm, that's a lot. It's
For a
odd.
review of a pilot? Shit.
Yeah. The thing is, I'm surprised how many male viewers, how many male fans of Wonder Woman they are, and they don't like her for the, oh, she's hot, that type of reason. I guess it has to do with Perez, back in the 80s, because I've read some of Perez's run on Wonder Woman, and they kick a ridiculous amount of ass.
I've
And
been reading. I started reading through the Simone run, then money got a little tight.
yeah.
Oh, okay, my bad. The Wonder Woman pilot review only has 7,000 some odd views, but regardless, still, it's just she makes Wonder Woman kicks ass, and I do love her as a character. By the way, I thought what she did or what they did in Justice League with her and Batman as an item was fucking brilliant. Because like the stereotypical couple is always Wonder Woman and Superman, but she'd have no attraction to Superman. He's this fucking hick that's raised, open doors for women and all that shit. She's not gonna go with that. he's
Yeah,
he's he's the
she's
fucking cool
goddamn
guy.
royalty. And
Well, no,
Batman's
she
like,
doesn't. What if you open a door for Wonder Woman? Oh shit, things are going down because she never ever lets people get away with that shit.
why?
She doesn't, dude. Like, haven't you seen the animated movie?
Oh yeah.
She got pissed when Steve tried to open her door for her, and she's like, "All right, fine, go ahead." Damn, bitch.
Damn, I mean, like I thought that was just proper etiquette. Open the
Well, I
door
mean,
for a lady.
the thing is, it's a point. It's not something people should get angry about, but at the same time, it's not something you should just assume to do for someone. I guess it's on a fine line anymore.
Mm,
Um, Regardless, let's get back. So, Huntress, yeah, I never cared for Huntress that much. She just never did anything for me.
mm. Uh, there were some interesting moments of with her, but it basically it kind of I see Huntress as one of those characters that is really good, and you could do some really interesting things with her. Not to say there hasn't been anything interesting done with her, but they've got to grow up a little, raise her up a little bit, make her get over this whole thing. Like, oh, Batman doesn't let me kill, they don't trust me because. Huntress seems like an interesting character that you can, well, at least make her a little bit more interesting. But they gotta get over that whole Batman doesn't let me kill thing and just give her, her own series of adventures. Because when she works with others, I think, like with the Bat Family or Birds of Prey, she is really good. But by herself, people haven't really figured out what exactly to do with her. But yeah, let's move on to another villain, shall we?
All right. Hmm.
Hmm.
There's so like that's the thing. Like this is so hard to narrow it down to two because there are so many awesome.
You know what? Let's do two. Let's do well, obviously
You pick one, I'll pick the other.
the thing is I'll give you a choices out of two choices and you have to pick one of them. Either
No, I don't want to be limited by you.
okay, no, you trust me. Either Riddler or Jeremiah Arkham. You have to pick one. Yeah, limited by me, motherfucker.
Nah,
Yeah.
I mean they're both good choices.
You just have to
Riddler doesn't really have much of a philosophy other than I want to be the best, or
mm,
well, not the best. I just want to be the smartest. It's not much of a philosophy. It's the philosophy of a Asian child.
Oh, no.
Racism.
Yeah, brings people together. Anyway, in
Well,
hatred.
no, and Jeremiah Arkham, while incredibly interesting, it's almost Amadeus that's more interesting. But
Um,
we've talked way too much about Grant Morrison. Let's go with what we were talking about feminism. Let's go with Poison Ivy, who oddly enough is a feminist icon.
yeah. What's up with that?
I don't know. It's very strange. People have been discussing that quite a bit. I remember a couple of years ago, people were talking about doing something with Poison Ivy. I'm trying to remember what it was. Oh, people were talking about Poison Ivy should be in the Nolan movies. And I said, no, don't do that, because you're going to have to take away her powers. And she is actually, I don't know if she is anymore given the new 52. And she's not even a villain anymore, as I understand it, given the new 52. But I believe she's actually Batman's most powerful villain,
Hmm.
like exclusive Batman villain.
Yeah, it's surprising because I made a video on my thoughts on Poison Ivy, and it got like a ridiculous amount of views in like a few days.
Hmm.
But the thing is, I think Poison Ivy is sexy, but she needs to have that frightening. She needs to embrace that more of a swamp thingy, creepy plant thing because she does some creepy plant things. In the animated series, she basically grows men in
Yeah, I
pods.
remember
But
that.
we need to
Several
go.
times actually.
Yeah, yeah, but we gotta embrace that creepy plant shit a little bit more to make her a little bit more like
See, I like
she.
when they do that. I
Mm,
think it works best when she takes on a more plant-like form. The more plants she's around. Um,
that's really good.
like that's an interesting dynamic, and it's an artist to artist thing. Depends on how the artist wants to draw her and the writer wants to describe her at any given time. Because
Mm,
like I feel like there's that for a while she was just living in essentially Gotham Central Park, and
mm.
she turned it into a fucking rainforest.
Yeah, that was
And
awesome.
like when she was in there, a lot of writers had her, very very green skin and incredibly, stuff growing on her, like she was fucking Miracle Grow. That was incredibly interesting. But then, like in those same stories or in those same runs, she'd leave the area and suddenly look much more human. And I think that's a very interesting dynamic for her. But
Mm.
to her philosophy, she's incredibly she's got a very vegan type of philosophy, a very Peter Seller, no shit, what's his name, species.
But she has a. I guess she's you can understand why the feminists embrace her so much. Like I I don't need men, but if I want one, I will get one, and I will do
Well, no,
whatever I
she
want
she
to one.
completely re she completely flips the paradigm, the classic paradigm of sexism, because she uses men literally as objects. They
Indeed.
are Joker builds bombs, Riddler makes death traps, Ivy uses men like a screwdriver,
Mm.
and that has sexual connotations I did not mean for it to. Um,
But yes, she does have that type of a dominatrixy. I'll make you do whatever I want you to do type of
Peter
a
Singer.
angle.
Peter Singer. She's a very she's in line with some Peter Singer, only with a much more violent tone. Peter
Mm.
Singer was the philosopher that's most credited with the term of speciesism, which is the idea: don't assume that just because it's a different species than you, you're better than it. Which
Mm.
is a very good point, and it's his main argument for vegetarian slash veganism. Um, there's a problem with that argument still, but regardless,
Mm.
just don't assume that because you're a different species, your needs are more important than that of others. and that's something very in line with Ivy.
But the
She
thing is,
doesn't.
Ivy, see, like, but she thinks that the needs of plants is a little bit more, well, she basically it's like that, but humans, in her personal opinion, are ranked lower beneath plants.
Well, no,
Plants are higher.
in some writing, yes. In my favorite Ivy writing, in what I found the most compelling Ivy writing, she's always describing, like especially in her origins, she's always describing hearing the plants scream. And one of my favorite ways to describe her feeling of that is she doesn't think plants are necessarily better than people right away. I feel like, in Ivy's perspective, imagine that you woke up one day, looked outside, and you saw a concentration camp
Mm,
full of people, and they're just being starved and murdered at random, and people are having fun doing it.
mm,
Ivy looks at the way humans treat plants like that, like we're just abusing them and just viciously murdering them for fun. And so she, in her mind, is saving these things, and she's helping them, and it's totally justified because we're Nazis to her.
mm,
And it's a very interesting dynamic, and I've always loved that way of describing it. Not that anyone particularly has. They've always described, the plants are screaming, but they never quite. It's become almost a cliche to have her say that, because it was what it was brilliant dialogue from one or two writers separately, and then everybody started using it.
yeah.
But that's always the dynamic that I looked at. I don't think that originally she thought plants were better than people. I
Mm,
think
mm,
she originally thought plants were interesting. Then the accident that gave her her superpowers happened, and she became obsessed with being a hero and just was so sickened by the actions of humanity in the face of what they were doing to things
plants.
that she can now consciously connect with, that
Mm,
she just could not stand it, and decided that these people are not better than plants because they do this and they do not care.
mm. In that sense of a way, I guess she's kind of like the most paganly elemental character in Batman's Rogues Gallery, because I see her as kind of like she's sex, nature, and horrific violence mashed into one thing. And
Mm-hmm.
I guess you can do some very interesting like very kind of paganly elemental things, even a little bit more strong than plant thing, I think, because with plant thing you just had a giant, a heap of like a plant that
I
can
mean,
talk.
swamp thing.
Yeah, swamp thing. That's right. Sorry, but
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Um,
but with
I think
poison ivy,
swamp
there's an
thing's obviously
extra
going to be more
element of sex.
powerful, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying making her as strong as Swamp Thing. I'm just saying, as concept wise, violence, plant life, sex smashed into one, you get like a pagan goddess, basically.
Hmm.
And if you look at the pagan gods, they're fucking assholes, and they do some freaking mean, horrific, violent ass shit over the tiniest things. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, like Athena turns a pretty girl, into a spider because she can weave better than her. Like you,
Well, no, it's because she could weave better than her, and the bitch was bragging. Bitch
yeah,
was talking smack. um,
yeah, and
Arachne would not shut her fucking trap, dude.
yeah. So turn her into a spider. Yeah,
Yeah,
but that's a little,
Arachne was a dirty hoe talking shit
yeah,
as
but
far as Athena
still,
was concerned.
yeah, but
Hera though, oh my god, have you been reading the new Wonder Woman run by Azzarello?
yes, I'm loving it. But Hera is just like
Hera's a
Hera.
fucking cold-hearted bitch.
Oh,
Oh
Hera
my
doesn't
god,
fuck
she is
around.
cutthroat, isn't she?
She doesn't fuck around. She is just like, mm,
Like
that's
I remember, like, I don't know if did you ever see the Disney movie Hercules?
yeah. I have.
Oh my god, like it was so strange for me having grown up with that movie the first time I read about, actual Greek myths,
Yeah.
because Hera was so nice in that movie.
Yeah.
And then you read about the actual legend of Hercules, and oh, she drove him crazy and made him kill his family 3 times.
Oh, fuck.
What?
Yes, it's like, oh, look how pretty he is, honey. Look at his blonde hair and blue eyes. Now I'm gonna make him slaughter his children when he comes of age because he's your bastard son. I mean, it's just, and the Wonder Woman run, just like, Jesus Christ, she doesn't fuck around. She literally turn another thing about the Wonder Woman run, the new 52 one. I mean, it's a lot more fucking closer to the Greek myths in nastiness. I mean,
Yeah, it
the
definitely is
Amazon.
interesting.
Yeah,
It's very interesting to see how they're doing that.
yeah, but
Uh,
another thing, you see let me just say something. With the Perez run, with the Perez like 80s, how other people see Wonder Woman, their like idea of the Greek gods is more like what the mainstream think of the Greek gods, the kindergarten Greek gods. You know, like, oh, they were the superheroes of the old world. No, and but
to a
in the
point,
new,
yes.
yeah, but in the new 52, the nastiness. I mean, the one spoiler warning. The Amazons actually they
You talking
uh
about Strife?
no
Are you
no
talking about the chick Strife, the god Strife?
yeah, I love Strife, by the
Like
way. I love,
her first appearance on the island of Themyscira?
yeah.
Oh God. Okay, I can describe that better than you because I remember like dropping the book and like turning the pages back to make sure what I just read was correct. All right,
Mm,
so the Amazons are on the island and there's shit going down. I'm not going to talk about what led up to this, but all of a sudden they start hearing marching and they're like, oh shit, we're being attacked. So they run out and they're warriors. They're like Spartans, right? In
yeah,
300.
yeah,
So
Spartans,
they
but with
run out,
ovaries.
weapons ready, and they start fighting these battles. Like when it takes a minute to find the enemy, but once they finally do, they start just tearing into them, and it gets bloody. It's intense. And then you find out that Strife, the goddess Strife, was making the Amazons see each other as the enemy.
Mm,
So the Amazons were slaughtering each other because this bitch just wanted to walk on the fucking island. Wow.
yeah, and that is, I love Strife. I mean,
She's actually really funny too.
she
Um,
is. She is. But the thing is, the thing that I was gonna bring up is like the Amazons actually swim out to passing ships. Fuck
oh,
all the
that.
yeah,
God,
yeah,
that was creepy.
that was creepy. They just, spoiler warning, they just get pregnant from all these sailors, just get it, just do this giant, sailor orgy, and they just kill after they get pregnant. After the men
After they
ejaculate.
have sex, they throw all the men overboard, go back to the island, have children, and the boys are sold to Hephaestus, the smith god,
Yes.
to work in his factory
Yeah.
as slaves.
But well, more like
But that's
sons.
a much
More
better alternative to what the Amazons would do with them.
just slit their throats.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I saw the whole slaves as Hephaestus. They weren't really slaves. They're more like his sons, and I
Well,
just
like
like,
they were slaves in the fact that the one kid got injured and he just threw him into the forge. He didn't treat them like born sons. I mean, they were. It was like Stockholm syndrome to me that they had
hmm,
because they loved him. They were happy to be there because they knew the alternative. So they weren't like they were still slaves. It's not like they were whipped constantly or anything like that. They just weren't they were slaves, but in like an older Greek sense of a slave,
hmm.
like not in the American industrialized kind of slave.
It's like it's either you become a child prostitute or you come work with me. I'll teach you a trade, and we'll see what goes on from there.
Yeah,
That's it.
I mean, pretty much. There's like slaves were still seen as people back in Greek and Roman times for the
Yeah.
most part. They Aristotle didn't try to take away the humanity of a slave. He still recognized him as a person, just as a person in a poor set of circumstances in comparison to oneself. Um, Slavery meant a lot different things because you still had rights as a slave.
Yeah.
They couldn't
But
just
then the Bible came along and all that shit went out the goddamn window.
Yeah, I mean, they couldn't just kill you. You know, you're like if it was a nobleman, he could, but you know, they wouldn't just kill you because they couldn't afford to.
Hmm.
And so there were laws put if your slave disobeys, you can punish them or you can sell them. And it was interesting. Like it was a different dynamic. There
Yeah.
were definitely slaves though.
Yeah. But anyway, back to the philosophy of the Batman characters.
Yeah. Here on
What?
Sydpart2's channel, we embrace the tangent. And if anyone's sick and tired of hearing that, let me know. Because
Yeah.
I got to come up with another sentence that sounds just as cool.
No, it is quite cool. I think that can be, that should be put on a T-shirt if you ever decide to go into merchandising.
I don't know. Maybe I'll sell my Sonic thing and I'll give a free T-shirt away with it or something.
Yeah, all right then. But anyway, back to the Batman freaking philosophy. So from Batman to goddamn Wonder Woman. Okay. Um,
It's okay. Yeah, Poison Ivy. I definitely see her in line with like I said, Peter Singer. He was like I said, the guy that basically introduced the term, not introduced, but started widely using the term speciesism, and
hmm,
he's the main reason that a lot of philosophers uh, are either vegan or vegetarian now, because
hmm.
he made an extremely compelling ethical argument for about how it's ethically unsound to eat meat.
Yes, the thing is with that, if I go out, if something is willing to hunt me down and eat me, then I'm perfectly okay with that. But um, I like myself some meat, and cows don't run very fast.
Well, that's here. We might as well make the argument. That's speciesism, Milan.
Well, god damn it, I'll eat all the meat I want. What you gonna say
No,
about
no,
that,
no. Come on,
boy?
let's take this seriously.
All right, all right.
The point is, just because it's convenient for you doesn't
Mm,
make it okay. You are in a morally compromised position. You cannot, in good conscience, call yourself an ethically good person because to Peter Singer, yeah, Peter Singer, it is morally wrong to put your personal well-being, your personal, wants above the basic rights of a sentient creature. And to him, sentience is implied by the ability to feel pain.
hmm.
So he
One question.
doesn't take this to plants, but Ivy takes it one step further because she knows that plants can feel pain.
Mm, mm. That's really good on Ivy. But one question, Ian. Do you eat
Yes.
meat?
Yeah, I'm not saying that just I could make the argument without agreeing with it.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, I believe who said it. The sign of an educated mind is that you can think about an idea, you can understand an idea without fully agreeing with it, or
Well,
something
yeah, I
along
mean,
those.
I can't tell you how many times I've left a comment on a YouTube video, especially, all the, like, for a while I went through that phase where you watch all the atheist videos.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot tell you the number of times I left a comment on a video that says, actually, your argument's flawed because of X, Y, and Z. And then I got comments, shut up, you stupid Christian. Like, actually, no, guys, I'm an atheist as well. I just really think this is a dumb argument to listen to.
Mm.
Like the one I hate is when someone says God is Santa, or someone uses the example of God and the example of Santa Claus and compares the
Mm.
two. That is just the most. It's either extremely ignorant or extremely arrogant, depending on how you're using it. Because
Mm.
if you honestly believe that, if you honestly believe that God is Santa Claus, then you're an idiot and you have no idea what the fuck you're talking about as far as the idea of God is concerned. All right? You have no business saying you're an atheist because you don't know what the fuck you're saying. Or you're incredibly arrogant because you think you understand it so well that you can just trivialize it to that, which is aggravating because there's, people's lives have gone into this. They put in so much into it that you're just trivializing away. Oh, I understand it so much better than you. He's just Santa Claus. It's just stupid. You have no idea what you're talking about. It's ugh. Anyway,
So, Batman.
Batman. About that.
Oh, by the way, Batman's an atheist.
Yeah, very much so.
Hmm.
Actually, they're going back to the point about Wonder Woman. There's a Batman and Wonder Woman comic book, crossover issue from the Wonder Woman series, and I want to get the trade. I think there's a trade of it. It's called Gods of Gotham, in which the Greek gods possess Gotham, or some of Batman's villains. And that was really interesting. And Batman in that says to Wonder Woman, I don't believe in any gods. So just in case anyone argues with me about whether or not Batman believes in God, he does not. And just to secondary source this, one of my favorite Batman stories, actually my favorite standalone Batman story, Whatever Happened to the Caped Crusader by Neil Gaiman, once again he says, I don't believe in, he says something to the effect of, I don't believe in God.
Yeah, but the thing is, actually got a comment on one of my videos. I believe it was the Joker. I believe it was the why Batman and Joker are two sides of the same coin video. That somebody said like, well, in the DC universe, it is it's they have gods in the DC universe. So how does that work?
Well,
Yeah.
actually, that's a good point. Just because it's relevant to Joker and Batman that we've talked about here,
Mm.
uh, they do have gods. They have Zeus, and they have the new gods like Darkseid stuff. But the thing is, Zeus and them aren't any more, or actually, they're less powerful than Darkseid. And Darkseid is not a god in the theological conception of a god.
Mm.
The best definition for God I've ever heard, and this is a very convincing argument too, by the way, because it's really hard to argue against because you have to argue against logic. Um, God is a being of infinite perfection. That is the definition. And the argument from the definition is something that's infinitely perfect must exist because if it's not perfect, or if it's not existent, then it's less perfect. I mean, what's a better situation to have? $100 bill in your hand or $100 bill not in your hand? If there's no existent $100 bill in your hand, it's clearly a less perfect circumstance. Uh, just to trivialize it way too much, but trying to be quick here. So the idea is, Zeus in the DC comics and Darkseid and any of the quote unquote gods in DC comics are just super powerful beings of cosmic proportion, similar to Galactus, if you will.
Mm.
But they're not gods in the sense that they are infinitely perfect, all-knowing, all-consuming, benevolent beings that are omnipresent within the universe.
Yeah.
They have some of those qualities, but they do not fully they do not embody the idea of infinite perfection as
Mm.
a god would. I mean,
You know.
that's Richard Dawkins also had an argument about that. Like, if Milan and I were to go back in time somehow and
Mm-hmm.
land in a Boeing
Whee!
747
Mm.
in front of a bunch of Homo erectus, they would no doubt fall down upon their knees and bow to us, treating us as gods, because to them
Yes.
we are. Something that is unconceivably advanced and more powerful in every way to a primitive, quote unquote primitive, which we would still count as at this point in history, is not does not make a god, even if we would worship one as a god.
Yes, but if taking on that, like, what kind of god would you be? Would you be a horrible, monstrous, vengeful god, or would you be? What kind of god would you be? Just asking.
John Hickman wrote a story that involved time travel, and it was incredibly interesting. And it played with a lot of cliches that I really enjoyed. One of which is the time traveler, got disrupted from the time stream and crashed his ship in essentially Aztec time. It was what was it? It was the Mayans or something that he landed near, I believe.
Mm.
And he got out of his ship and comes to a clearing, and you see all these people with spears and their primitive weapons pointing at him, and you think, oh crap. And so you're waiting for the next issue because that's where the issue ended, and you're thinking, okay, either A, they're going to kill him, or B, they're going to worship him as a god. Then the next issue starts up right where the last one left off, I believe. And what he did is he grabbed the chief's hand, because it was the chief that came up to him first, trying to worship him as a god, pulled out a knife, cut the guy's hand, then cut his own hand so that they were both bleeding. He showed the chief both of their hands, and then he held it up to show the rest of the tribe, so that he communicated to them in a very fundamental way that he was not a god. He was one of them. And they were all still bowing, at which point he bowed to them. That is the only conceivable way to do the morally good thing in that situation. That being said, I don't know if I could give up. I don't know if I'm a morally upstanding enough person to give up the chance to be a god, depending on where I'd go. Like, depending on where I am, I don't know. It depends on what part of the world I'm in. Back in time.
With me, I would probably very much so do exactly the same thing, but I would I would be one of those people that guides their scientific development to a point where
See, I always wondered if we could, if I ever talked to John or Hank Green or John Green, I'm gonna ask them: is there anyone in history that you've read about that you're pretty sure was a time traveler because they just seemed so advanced for their time? Like I feel like there should be someone like that. That you just feel like they got stuck back in time, and then they helped the civilization by leaps and bounds within their lifetime.
I would say Einstein.
Maybe, I don't know, because he died at a very early point, and he definitely contributed in staggering ways, but then he kind of quit. It kind of teetered out. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe he was working on his time machine. But anyway, on the similar note,
Einstein was working on his time machine.
exactly. But anyway,
Gonna bring that up when Bill comes back. Gonna have
anyway, I
so
mean,
we'll know whether or not Bill watched this.
yeah. So anyway, on a similar point, um, I think that Superman, the character in the comic books, is a better Jesus figure than Jesus himself.
To a point,
But the thing
it's
is,
about reading the right comic books.
yeah, like the All-Star Superman, I think is a
The
better
All-Star
Jesus.
Superman is an incredible Jesus allegory.
Yeah, but the thing I have a problem with the biblical Jesus is that it's the Trinity thing that I have the problem with. It's like, oh, they're all one person. So it's basically Jesus is like he's God. He basically came down to earth to sacrifice himself to make a loophole in the rules that he made.
Yeah,
But the thing is, but if it was like if it was like more of a pantheistic thing where Jesus and God were two separate holy beings, and Jesus would rebel and just ask God, like, can you just forgive all these people? And God said, no way, they're sinners. And Jesus said, you know what? I'm gonna create a loophole for these people and die and take up all of their sins on myself. Then that would have been a better, like, I would have worshipped that guy if I
see, that's the
believe
thing.
God.
Jesus's sacrifice is fundamentally flawed. Um,
Exactly. That's
no,
what
no,
I.
let me explain, because first of all, I'm saying this. No one get offended. If you're a Christian or whatever, I don't hold that against you or anything. There are a lot of people that say if you're a Christian, don't even watch my videos. Blah blah blah. No, if you want to comment on this or make a video response, please do. I'd be very happy to talk about it with you. Just please don't. If you're using the term idiot, apologize for using the term idiot, as I have done in this. I don't like calling arguments stupid, but sometimes it's the word at hand. The problem with Jesus' sacrifice is this. If I punch you in the face and I say I'm sorry, you don't have to, but you should forgive me. All right? No. And I genuinely mean I'm sorry for punching you in the face. All right? Same things, if you punch me in the face and you genuinely apologize, yes, I should forgive you. However, and this is why I wish we had Bill here, because this would make it, like, let's pretend we have Bill here. However, if I punch Milan in the face,
Mm-hmm.
and Bill steps in as Milan begins to retaliate for that, and says, and I say, and Bill steps in and stops you from retaliating, and I tell Bill, I'm sorry I punched Milan in the face. And Bill says, I forgive you, Ian. And Bill looks at you and says, I've forgiven him. So you cannot retaliate, because retaliating would be wrong, since he has my forgiveness. That is a fundamental problem, because without divine right, Jesus' philosophy, Jesus' sacrifice completely falls apart. Jesus forgiving you for committing sins against others means nothing once you take out the idea of heaven. And even with the idea of heaven there, it is still fundamentally problematic, because you should have to apologize to the person you've wronged, not just to the idea of, not just to God. And
Exactly.
sometimes, of course, you can't apologize for what you've done. If you've killed someone in a drunk driving accident and they had no family, you can't apologize to their family, you can't apologize to them, but you still should have to make up for that to that person in some way,
Yeah.
not just to God. And that's
Yes.
the fundamental problem with the Jesus sacrifice.
Yes.
It's a morally bankrupt system once you take God out of it, and it's
Exactly.
still
But
problematic once you have God in it.
yes, because if you think about it, and one of the biggest things is that if you don't believe in God, you go to hell. But the thing is, it's not about how much in God's eyes, we're all sinners, we're all the stuff, you go to hell either way if you don't believe in Jesus. But so basically, you can be a nice person, a kind,
Gandhi,
loving,
is Gandhi in hell? That's
yeah,
the
Gandhi, yeah, but yeah. So you can be a nice person and not believe in Jesus, not believe in Jesus's divinity, and God will send you to hell. But if you're like, Hitler, for example, like Hitler said, like I believe in God. I'm killing the Jews because they killed Jesus. He's just doing what every good old Catholic boy is taught from the very cradle. Hitler's in heaven and Gandhi's in hell. That's God's, ultimate mercy for you. But not that we believe that stuff. But anyway, back to Batman. Back to Batman. Let's
well, I
just.
mean, that was all very relevant to Batman and
I see.
Joker early on.
Yeah.
So it's not quite a tangent. It's a late addition.
Yes,
Um,
indeed.
excuse
But
me as I open a soda.
all right then.
Um, all right, so we discussed Poison Ivy, I think, fairly well. I talked about how she's taken Peter Singer to the next level, and how, of course, I should add this, because this is as good as point as any. None
Mhm.
of these philosophies justify the actions that these characters take.
Indeed.
Even Batman.
Indeed.
Joker believing that life has no meaning and that it's all a joke and that he can do whatever he wants because it doesn't matter anyway, does not justify murdering people. Ivy believing that, humans are Nazis toward plants does not justify murdering humans, because there's a level of ignorance there. Um,
Indeed.
but among other things, um, Joker is not justified, because even if he's right, it does not mean that that is the action to do. It's not a solution.
Indeed.
It's just him being selfish. Batman beating up criminals because he believes that he has a moral duty to do so, to do the right thing, to be the greatest man, does not give him the right to do it. He has no authority. He just sees himself as the ideal, as the Nietzschean ideal. That does not give him the authority to act. Alfred making sure that Batman's doing the right things for the right reasons does not mean that he gets to stop him from going to save a family, or delay him from going to put out a fire. All right?
Mm.
And I want to make that clear. Just because you have this philosophy does not justify the actions taken
Indeed.
by these
Um.
characters, even if
Indeed.
those actions are noble.
Yes. But the thing is, There's another interesting one of my favorite villains. I don't know. I think there's two villains that I want to pick to talk about next. Is either the philosophy of Bane or the philosophy of Ra's al Ghul. What do you think? Who do you think we should talk about next?
Ra's al Ghul is extremely similar to Ivy in the whole environmentalism thing.
But the
Not
thing
to
is,
the point of the plants being Holocaust victims, but
mm,
to the idea of man is an animal that's grown. Man is a weed. Is Ra's
indeed,
al Ghul's
indeed.
philosophy.
But the thing is,
Bane is so all over the place. It's we'd have to talk about Nightfall, but his philosophy in Nightfall was so limited, sadly.
yeah.
And then after that, it's no idea where he is. There hasn't been a great Bane story since Nightfall.
I
Um,
guess with let me just sum up the with Bane. Bane is basically he has the prison mentality. He grew up in a prison, so basically it's I gotta take down the biggest, toughest guy who owns the prison, and thus I will become the guy who owns the prison.
yeah,
Uh,
that's very true. He does have the prison philosophy.
yeah, because he
The
actually
alpha
says
male. He's a very cutthroat, very Darwinian, survival of the fittest kind of
yes,
character.
yes,
I'll give you that.
but yeah, but at some point he says like the world is my prison and the same rules apply, and basically yeah, but exactly that. But with Ra's al Ghul, I think it's not just the environmental thing. I think that's just a very minor part of his character. I mean,
Well,
I
no.
think
I feel like Roz. Have you read Birth of the Demon?
Birth of the Demon. That's the one where no, no, the one where that's
It's his origin.
yeah, I believe so. Yeah, the thing is with Roz.
Well, no.
Uh,
Here, let me talk about Roz a little bit.
but
Like I
let me
said,
let me
to
just get my thing in. Just get my thing in, then you can talk.
right.
The thing with Roz, I think there has to be a thing with age because I don't think Batman can take on Roz at all because the guy is like 700 years old. He had all that time to hone his skill, so Batman should not even have a chance against him skill wise. And it's just like B- Bras should just wipe the floor with Batman like in 2 seconds, like five elbows to the gut, or just I mean like martial arts wise. And so I don't know. It just Roz. I think there should be more of a mystique around Roz. It's like you know. There should be like mythology around Roz, like the criminal underworld, like tells stories about the terrifyingness of Ra's al Ghul, the head of the demon. But anyway, continue. Sorry.
Um,
Oh,
well, the thing about Roz, Batman Begins is really the only one to associate him with the idea of criminal punishment. To
mm,
me, it was the first. I mean, it's been done since, and certainly he doesn't like criminals any more than he does, politicians or uh, children. Um, yes, Ra's al Ghul is a man that hates newborn babies just as much as he does hardened criminals. He does not like humanity. He thinks that he sees humanity as a weed because he comes from a bigger world. There's that theme in a lot of turn of the century stories where the world's getting smaller, the map's shrinking, and to Raz, that's been going on as long as he's been alive. His people were part of it. They were part of the Great Migration societies, and he wiped them out. He genocided his people. Um, Spoiler alert.
hmm
And he did it for selfish reasons initially, but he was much happier. Like he returned. What he did is people migrated from Asia through the Middle East, uh, and ended up in the Fertile Crescent basically, right?
mm,
And he wiped them out when they were in the desert, and then returned. Like I believe it was supposed to be 100 or so years later to the location of their greatest city, and it had been swallowed by the desert, completely consumed, erased, wiped off the map
mm,
entirely. And he felt catharsis at that point. He wanted to do it again, and that became his drive to bring the world back to make man an animal. He didn't want society. He saw society as a cancer growing on the planet, and he felt it was fundamentally flawed because of the horrid things that it does, like
Mhm.
what it did to him. It allows corruption to exist. You cannot have corruption in a hunter-gatherer tribes. You cannot have corruption because if someone is stealing or pulling tricks behind backs and stuff like that, they are going to get what they deserve very quickly. And those values will not be passed on because that will be dealt with. It will be cut out. But in society, behavior like that thrives. And Roz sees that as fundamentally flawed
Mm.
to me. That's my perspective on it. But we said only two more villains, but uh, let's talk about the Robins as not necessarily one in particular, but let's talk about just the Robins.
Mm. Like I said before, Batman has a tendency of, taking in and then spitting out, like taking in normal people and spitting out just completely changed individuals. He's like the Joker, because the Joker tends to twist people who get in
Yeah,
his vicinity. The Batman is in a strange way very, very similar. He's such a personality that like lesser personalities kind of shape themselves around him. He's like a sun, and everybody else is like a tiny planet caught in his orbit.
hmm. Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. Well, let's. I guess I said we won't talk about the specifics, but I feel we kind of have to because the other two are
Indeed.
just kind of different shades of these same. We got to talk about the two ways a Robin can go. A Dick Grayson or a Jason Todd, because I
Mm.
mean, obviously, Tim leads toward Dick, and ah ha 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 ha. Tim is on the road to becoming Richard, and Damien is obviously tilted toward Todd.
Indeed.
Uh,
What about Stephanie Brown?
exactly. Who? I forget she exists. That bitch should have stayed dead. I swear to God, every time someone mentions her,
uh,
she meant so much more when she died. Ah, like it was
all
my
right,
it was one of my favorite characters that killed her too, and she was so much more useful when she was dead. Um,
all right. Let's not give the Stephanie Brown fanboys any more heat. Anyway, I like Stephanie Brown, by the way. But anyway,
I,
um, I like
she was very.
coupons.
I liked her when she was dying. That was good.
All right. Well, you like to see little teenage girls get tortured to death by monsters. Anyway, um, uh, the not
Well, like,
seriously.
all right. So Jason is. It's interesting because Jason and Dick both reflect different sides, the two sides of Batman's personality.
Mm,
You have this caring, this naturally good person, and both of them reflect Batman in multiple ways, but one brings out a lot more of one side, and the other brings out a lot more of the other side.
mm,
And Dick obviously is the good natured, the caring individual, the one that inspires hope in people, whereas
mm.
Jason is the raw,
The street.
virile rage and hatred that Batman can be capable of.
Yeah. So basically, I see very much Jason Todd as the embodiment of the street brawler aspect of Batman. He's the street in Batman. He's the I'll beat the shit out of, criminals with pocket knives or something like that. But the thing is about one thing about Dick Grayson. The fact, you know what they say about acrobats, right?
No.
Well, the thing is, my aunt used to work in a circus, and it's just like the thing about acrobats is they are people. They are the male ones get so much pussy It's
Hmm.
ridiculous. It's like in the carny circles. If you're an acrobat, it's assumed that you get a ridiculous amount of pussy. It's it's
Once
like,
again, Milan, bringing up the sex.
what? Sex is part of life. Sex is a wonderful natural thing that occurs between
You ever
sentient
wonder
beings.
why you're not on Geek Evolution's channel?
I'm sorry, I can't PC myself. I can't. I'm Russian. Terrible, monstrous things just come out of my mouth. That was dirty. Anyway,
That should go on a T-shirt right there. I'm Russian. Terrible, monstrous things just come out of my mouth.
that is so true. Anyway,
Go on, get a Twitter and tweet that.
I hate Twitter.
Why?
Anyway,
Shit, dude.
I anyway. So, yes, we're talking about the Robins. Um, so I think Dick Grayson is the prodigal son, of course. No, actually, you know what? I think some would argue that it's Tim Drake that's the prodigal son, but um, Grayson is very much the very first. He's the very first what's it called again? The very first squire to Batman's Dark Knight.
Mhm.
So it's just like it's very interesting how it keeps pushing them out. It's almost like a factory line.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, it's like taking a young boy, push him out an awesome badass, on both ends of the spectrum.
Well, yeah, I mean, I just find it interesting, and I believe the philosophy of the Robin is to be something that Batman cannot.
Mm.
Batman cannot be there. Like I'm trying to remember. Oh, it was the animated movie, the very first one they did on this direct DVD line. Or wait, no, maybe it was the second. Justice League: The New Frontier.
Yeah, I love that one.
Yeah, I like the excuse that they like. There are a million reasons why they start having a Robin, but this is probably my favorite because it kind of combines a couple of them.
Mm.
Batman is trying to save a child in a fire, and the
Mm.
child is afraid to go to him because of what he has to be to scare criminals.
No, the
He
thing is,
also hold on,
he's
let
okay.
me get
Okay,
ahead.
go ahead.
What he has to be to frighten criminals is also frightening children.
Mm.
And so the child is afraid to come to him. So he gets Robin, and that problem is solved because now they see either Batman with this, young person, and they're not afraid of Batman anymore because the young person isn't afraid of Batman, or the young person can go save Batman. And I feel like Robin is what Batman cannot do or cannot be. He's that symbol of hope that he is a symbol of hope in a different way than what Batman is. Batman's the symbol that hope, a symbol of hope that can we can overcome this, we can beat this. Robin's the symbol of hope that we can overcome this, we can beat this, and we will not be monsters afterward.
Yes, but the thing is, that's a really great take on Robin. I agree with that also. But there's another side to it, a more of a cynical Alan Moore-ish type of a darker side to it. That you know how Batman plans everything out ahead of schedule.
Oh, you
Uh,
think he plans his predecessor so his mission can continue?
exactly. Like, well, there's an angle to that some writers like to take. It's like it's almost like I don't like it when people kind of insinuate the kind of like the child abuse angle to it. Like, you will become me after I'm dead.
Well, the funny thing, like I remember, I remember reading a forum post and I laughed for like 5 minutes straight after reading this. It was one of those things where someone decided that they were going to be controversial and bring up the topic that Batman's putting children in danger, right? And they're like, it's morally reprehensible. He's taking a child out into the streets to fight criminals. That's wrong. And then someone replies, why does no one ever talk about Captain America? He took a child to fucking war.
Oh, well, I guess with Captain America, they were boys enlisting, lying about their age,
It doesn't
so.
it doesn't matter. That point was just hysterical. Because Bucky, was just like Robin. And it's just, he took a child to, it was like in all caps, to fucking war!
And some shots in the old World War II comics, you see Bucky Barnes with a fucking machine gun, just firing just an insane amount of rounds into the Nazis, and he has like a Burroughs boy grin on his face, like, "Ha ha, fuck you, ratsies."
All right,
But
and to the people that are fans of Captain America and don't like, I'm not bashing Captain America. I know that Bucky was like supposed to be 16 or something. It's fine, really, but like the rhetorical point here is that the public does not know the age of Bucky Barnes, but we just kind of go along with him fighting in a war. But he definitely is a child in comparison to everyone else around him. Um,
mm,
just to cover my own ass there before Bucky was like 16 and he had special training, and this is what my viewers sound like when they comment because I like to make fun of you because I'm a terrible host.
yeah, but the thing is with Bucky Barnes, they kind of people at the large public, it kind of accepts it because like my grandfather went to enlisted in the war, like when he was like what was he, like 15, or kids were lying about their age left and right, and the government said, you know what, fuck them, we need more reinforcements. So I don't know, and I guess it's like patriotism, and 50s you were a man when you turned 12, but anyway. I mean,
Okay.
20s, but anyway, the thing is with Robin, there's a very great scene in the Young Justice cartoon where basically it's like a counselor session between Black Canary and Dick Grayson, the young Robin. And Robin basically sitting there and says, like, don't tell Batman. I don't want to become Batman. I want to be my own man. And, like, I know what he's doing, just in case he dies, he wants me to take over for him. And there's just this very like tender moment of like, I don't want to be Batman. And it says, and then he goes, looks at Black Canary and says like, don't tell Batman. And just a look on Black Canary's face is like, oh, that's just heartbreaking. It's like, oh, this poor kid. Uh,
All
but
right,
but
I want
uh,
to make
but still, he gets to fight supervillains and have awesome gadgets. So whatever.
I want to make the point because what I was talking about earlier with the idea of Robin is Jason Todd is the reflection of the weight of that, of having to try to
Indeed.
live up to that legacy, and
Yeah.
it shows the destruction of it because not everyone can do it.
Indeed.
And there's plenty of stories like that where people tried to live up to being Batman and they could not do it. And this video is going to be over in 15 seconds, so I really had fun talking with you about it tonight, Milan.
Indeed.
We'll see you next time. Check out Milan's channel, MilanJeftic1992 here on YouTube. We'll be back next week, and we still need a title.